Welcome everybody to the Convergence Data Classification Community Group meeting. Today's presentation will be focused on how to prepare your legacy parts for Teamcenter Classification. The presenters will be Richard, Megan, and John. It'll be a 15-minute presentation and demonstration. Some of the things that we hope you'll learn is how to set up Teamcenter Classification to obtain the most value. We'll do a demonstration of how to prepare your classification data for Teamcenter. And we'll give you a demonstration of Teamcenter Classification itself after your data has been enriched and cleansed. We'll discuss lessons learned from previous projects, and then we'll open up for a live Q&A at the end of our presentation. A little background on the presenters. Myself, Richard Turner, I'm the president of Convergence Data. John Fair who's our project manager for PLM projects. We'll be demonstrating Teamcenter, and Megan Proctor is our DFR application specialist, and she'll be demonstrating DFR. Convergence Data and Siemens PLM, we are a Siemens partner. We are also a sponsor at Realize Live, the annual user group meeting in Las Vegas this year on June 22nd to the 25th. Our company is a member of the advisory board, and we also run the classification community group, which is today's meeting. A brief introduction on Convergence Data. We've been focused on parts classification for the last 19 years in a variety of industries, as you see in the top right. We have a data services team that collects information on purchase parts, design parts, parts you put in your bill of material, or service parts, products you put in your PIM system. Many companies engage us as they're trying to deploy a new PLM system or ERP system or PIM system. Some of the value propositions that we provide is helping engineers reuse parts or helping procurement with better spend analytics on direct materials, which includes identifying duplicates and near duplicate parts. We're going to give you a demonstration today of our software designed for retrieval. We have an 8-step process that we use our data service and our software to prepare data for Teamcenter Classification. It starts with a parts list. These are the parts that you want to classify. We use this information in step 1 to build a classification structure, which is typically comprised of mechanical parts, electrical parts, raw materials. Once we build that schema, we then start collecting the information on these parts. Usually that information for the metadata is in part specifications or on preferred supplier websites. That's the data harvesting process. Once we've harvested all the data, we then need to normalize this data to produce the list of values, which is the list of potential values for each of the string attributes. Then we validate the data to make sure there's no errors in the data. So we'll do a bulk validation of the data by category and clean up any of the errors. And once we've processed all the errors, we run our policy manager to make sure that we don't break any rules in Teamcenter. And then we fix those, any sort of issues that come up in the policy manager, and then we're in a position to export the data to Teamcenter, which we'll be giving you a demonstration of how we do that.
Thank you, Richard, for that. Today I'm going to be displaying Smart Class and Smart Find, which are 2 modules that aid in Teamcenter development and structure. Smart Class is used to create and maintain a structure or schema. This means that all categories and their accompanying attributes will exist inside this module. This is used as a staging area for all classification, allowing multiple users to weigh in on potential changes. Our users generally utilize this to make rapid and frequent changes, which will set the stage for imports into Teamcenter. Viewing the structure can be done on the left in the structure tree here, as well as a breadcrumb trail on the top of the page. Attributes live in the center of the screen and can be added or removed at any time. This is also where key attributes are assigned, and the user is able to create a list of values, if applicable. Smart Class is the foundation of the structure and the groundwork that sets up all filters and attribute views in SmartFind. SmartFind is a module capable of being used as a platform to search as well as view enrichment levels of each category and as well as the attribute values per part. This also creates the foundation for searching in Teamcenter. Searching can be done in 4 ways: by classification, by part number, keyword, or image searching. By simply typing in the beginning of or all of a category name, SmartFind's intelligent software identifies the category that the user is trying to locate and produces a list of all possibilities. Part searching allows the user to search on a part number or a part description. Keyword searching is a Google-style search function where the user is able to type a keyword and locate that word throughout all part attributes and attribute values. Today, I'm going to utilize classification searching and locate my category. Once the category is selected, filters produced by identifying key attributes in Smart Class are located on the left and will help narrow down the results down to a specific part or set of parts. Editing parts is also done in this module, as well as the ability to export a group of parts or an entire category at once. Helpful reports are also generated through SmartFind by using the Attribute Population tab, thus pulling the percentage of attribute values populated per key attribute, as well as a duplicates report, identifying potential duplicates throughout a category by using common attribute values. Now I will pass the torch to John, who will elaborate more on how DFR and Teamcenter connect and work together to produce a working structure and home for parts.
Thanks, Megan. What I have up on the screen is our Design for Retrieval Fit Client tool. As you can see, we have on the left-hand side, similar to what Megan showed us, our classification structure. What I'm doing now is I'm looking at a validation of, in this example, scroll compressors. Here you can see that DFR quickly identifies areas, such as these red blocks, where the information is missing and incompatible with exporting to Teamcenter, based on predefined rules. Our software has a number of different ways in which you can identify and fix these issues, which will then allow you to do a better export to your Teamcenter environment. Once you've taken care of any different issues you've identified using our validations, you would come to our export manager. I won't go through an entire export, but we have a couple different ways that we can export data. You can export your entire classification or just item data. Once you've selected what you're exporting, we have what is essentially a wizard style walkthrough that will take you through the export process. You'll see here that there's a number of different options you can use. You can select what individual attributes or attribute groups you want to export. Next, you'll see the entire structure in which you can pick and choose what category or categories you would like to export as well. Then you'll be able to select from a different batch or set of data that you've uploaded into the system, giving you very granular control of what information you want to export to your Teamcenter instance. Once you've done this process, you will end up with 4 different files in an XML format. These files are the attributes file, which contains all attribute information, such as size and measure. You'll have the class file, which relates all those attributes to the different classification structure you've created. The items file, which contains all the individual items, where they list in that classification and the attributes that go along with them. And finally, the LOV file, which contains the list of values mentioned earlier, which will define what options you have for different string attributes throughout your classification. The last step is that you would import that into your Teamcenter environment. Here, we have a Teamcenter environment that we've stood up, and I've already gone through the process of importing the same information that you were just looking at in DFR moments ago. Here, I've pulled up a sample scroll compressor where you can see we have all the information that was entered in DFR. You'll notice that there are some red star icons that appear on different fields. These are mandatory fields. These were identified and defined in DFR, and they come over along with the import. These are mandatory fields, which means they have to be filled out. And that goes for creating any new parts in this Teamcenter based on this classification as well. Using these will allow you to quickly search and find what you're looking for in this tool. So now I'm going to walk through a search in the system, and I'd like to highlight another unique feature of the Teamcenter that we support in our DFR tool. You'll notice that the screws classification has a different icon than anything else. It has a little blue window as opposed to these yellow groups for things like parts and fasteners. What this indicates is that this is an abstract class. This means that if I'm to search through the data, I can search across all screws as opposed to having to search simply through machine screws or thumb screws or set screws. These attributes shown here on the right are defined across all screw classification items and child classes. So if I were to search by head type and length for a hex head screw that is 3/4 of an inch in length, when I search and I look at my results, I will see not only cap screws, but sheet metal screws, machine screws, and self-drilling screws as well. This provides lots of flexibility as you're searching through and going through all the information in your Teamcenter environment. If I were to look at any of these items by hitting to go to the next instance, you'll notice that it brought in all the information of that screw, not only the information that is searchable through the abstract class. The last thing I want to point out is that you'll notice those LOV fields for the string attributes show here in the search as well, and you can pull them down in order to select what different options you want to use, predefined in the DFR tool. These are useful not only for searching, but also for part creation, as they will limit your users into the different options for creating any parts that have LOV values.